Hi. So, out walking today, thinking, musing as you do, it occurred to me to have a conversation about places of power. Now, this come about because when you listen to different people's ideas about the best way to practice, obviously some people favour or shout about the need to be outside. And I'm not against that. Whether it's better or worse, I don't think that can really be applied. It's richer, perhaps, but that's not to say that being indoors to practice makes you poorer for it in any way. I think it's really how you choose to practice is first and foremost your prerogative. That is your practice. How you do it is up to you, and whether it's indoors or outside, to anyone else, doesn't really matter. The important thing is that you practice. But obviously, and yet, say not but, I'd hate to use the word but, and yet obviously you can apply a kind of sliding scale to pros and cons being indoors as opposed to being outdoors and other variables. I mean, if we start this conversation from being indoors as being at home, then you're in your sanctuary. This could mean if you are younger and sort of still living at home with parents, then likely this will be your bedroom. And if you're in your own place, it might be you have a dedicated place, a shrine or an altar. And I think really the value of being indoors is your place of power is focused how you want it. And obviously it's your place. It's empowered by your choices, your decisions, and working with gods and spirits and power, how you choose to do it, is to some degree on your terms. And there's nothing wrong with that. I mean, really, there's nothing else to be said on the matter. Things you perhaps need to take into consideration is who you invite in your practice. You are inviting them into your personal space, and some powers may not respond well if you've got devotions to certain gods or spirits and not them. It's, as I said, everything really is a sliding scale of how you want to practice. Now, obviously, like I have for myself, going into our garden is an extension of the hearth, but brings us closer to nature. A fire pit is an important part of my practice. Not everyone has that. It's outside, but it's also sort of a part of personal space, but not so enclosed as being indoors. But again, take into consideration limitations beyond our human experience, our mortal experience. Say, really, to a certain extent, walls and roofs, how much of an obstacle are they to gods and spirits? It depends on the power you put into it, and if you practice securely and safely, then you're probably gonna be putting up some barriers, and obviously that comes with, again, pros and cons. That ensures or encourages some secrecy, some safety in your sanctuary. There's always going to be something that comes along that wants to prod that, depending how bright you shine. I say, when you go outside, you are freed a little bit of restriction or confinement. But of course, I've just said, it's just sort of, do these barriers exist to beings of power that do not conform to fleshy, clumsy sort of human beings? It's one of those things that comes with the senses, really. It's that being outside, seeing the stars, particularly at night, or the experience is different day and night, and that's perhaps one of the things you don't automatically get the vibe of being indoors. But the fresh air is invigorating. The weather can be challenging, yes, but it can also be comforting. And it's just sort of, there is power in nature. It's more neutral. It's more untainted by human influence, hopefully, for the most part. I mean, it's one of those things really to sort of discuss in another conversation about sort of what we've done to the planet as the human race. So the planet, Yord, will inevitably react, and whether it's to our detriment or not, we'll always only have ourselves to blame. Obviously there is natural phenomena that happens, but that's natural phenomena, that's nature, and humanity, no matter how powerful we might think we are, we're never really going to be able to sort of turn that tide, stop it completely, because it'll always be unpredictable. It'll always change its nature. It'll always find ways to get around human ingenuity. You see it historically, periods of time, that nature has its way of just doing what it wants to do, regardless of our wishes, our insignificant faults. But finding places of power, I think outside is quite easy. It's you feel it. It's like, even in not necessarily beauty, but wonder of the natural world, it inspires it. You breathe it in, you feel that natural, neutral landscape where perhaps working with other powers becomes easier because you're in a more inviting location. I mean, we can, of course, colour that without affecting sort of the environment by having our little shrines and altars and that. But perhaps being outside is more of a neutral experience, which can make communing with other forces more potent, because it's more available. We haven't coloured it specifically to what as individuals we lean towards, we favour, we almost sort of stick a flag in the ground saying this is my sort of deity of choice, my sort of favoured forces. It was interesting, sort of recently-ish, sort of, even now I have a fascination, well, I enjoy architecture, and in particular you see this in churches. That is a created place of power. And probably my last time within a church was something to note, because it felt different for me. It was really the last time I'd been inside a church since choosing this path of a Sartre. And while there's an awe and magnificence to church architecture, it was an occasion where I didn't feel any power. But I'm conscious that I don't want to attack the Christian faith or that is, I don't know, that's for another video, how I feel about, in particular, Christianity. I don't want to go into that. I'm going to stick with places of power. I think, going back to one of the earliest videos on this playlist, we choose how we focus our power. And that can be through other creatures that we give the power to, or we create relationships where there's an exchange of power, or a working relationship, or we choose to work with our own power in the way we want to, regardless of an outside force. And I think really the environment, places of power work in the same way. And I love going outside, I do. It invigorates, it feels richer. That doesn't mean it's better. And I think that's the conclusion really to draw about places of power. It isn't necessarily better, it's just an alternative. And it can really, its neutrality is its richness for how you choose to practice. I don't think I have anything else to say on this matter for now. You are welcome to comment if you've watched all the way to the end. I thank you very much. Great. Cheers. I'll see you soon. Thank you.